So for this video, I'm going to continue with network security groups and show the difference between having one and not having one, I guess. So, you know, continuing off of the other videos is we have the demo VM of its network security group here, and we also create that new one where we create a subnet and then associated it. But anyway, so let's create a new virtual machine, and I'll just call it new VM. And all that doesn't matter, it's just so you fill it all in. But I'm going to show when you say not to have a network security group, not to create one. And it says all the ports will be exposed to the internet if you don't do it. So by default, it allows all access instead of what you would think would be deny everything, and then you had to, create a network security group and add rules to allow traffic. It by default just allows everything when you don't have it. So I'm going to create it. Come back. In the meantime, I went to a new network security group I created for another video. I'm going to disassociate the subnet because I didn't add the new rules to allow port 80, and I could just added the rule if I wanted to, but I'd rather just dissociate it and then refresh this, and IIS should be on the demo VM. So it's as if we just deleted this. So let's go to demo VM. And we'll go to networking, and we'll open up our network security group. We go to network interfaces, and I'll wait till this is ready to show you that IIS should be working on our demo VM. Alright, so it's working, and then we're gonna actually disassociate the network security group from the NIC of the demo VM. So then this will stop working. Actually, no, it will still work because it's going to allow all traffic. Alright, I waited long enough for it to dissociate. Come here, refresh, and it didn't change. So that shows. So now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go back to our network security group that I have for the old VM, demo VM, and go to subnets, and I'm gonna associate one, and it's gonna be in, so I forgot to put in the new VM into the same VNet as the other one. So I'll put in demo RG VNet, and then I'll go to the new VM, and I'll change its virtual network. So I'm gonna have to delete the virtual machine because you can't just switch over to the VNet. You have to deallocate it and then put it to the right virtual network and then come back. And I don't care about saving the OS disk or anything like that, so I'm gonna delete it and just make another virtual machine. So I'll come back. I'll just make sure to do east and then go to networking and make sure it's the same VNet there. And not gonna have a network security group, and then do all this, and I'll create it and come back when it's deployed. Okay, so while I'm waiting, let's go to the network security group, and since imagine we didn't have this, I would just dissociate it and put on and just add this whole thing same over again because it's in a demo RG VNet, which is what we're putting the new one in, the new VM on. And by doing this, if they're both attached at the subnet layer, then it'll work. You only need to create once because both VMs are in it. But another way to do it is just to create a new security group and attach it to subnet as well. So it's still doing it. Let's go back to the network security group. Let's go to inbound rules, and I'm gonna get rid of the RDP and the port 80 ones. Alright, so it said it failed to delete these two. Let's try again. Alright, that's short gone. So now since let's go to our new VM, and since it's connected at to the network security group at the subnet level, and it doesn't have any RDP or anything, we'll try to do it, and it's not going to work. And you can see that error pops up, so you can't connect, you know. Say okay. So anyway, let's go back. Let's go to our network security group. Let's go to inbound rules, and let's add one. Okay, so if we're trying to RDP into the new VM, then what do we need? So source is fine, but we want the destination IP address of the new VM, so then we can VM into it. So we'll change the service to RDP. We'll call it port RDP, and so now we need to get the IP address of the newest VM. So let me just actually make a new tab. So we're not going to use the public IP address. We're actually going to use its private address, which is here. We're going to go networking, and you'll see it here, because that's the NIC, and that's what's gonna. Its public IP is separate from the virtual machine in a way. So that's what we're going to put here to allow us RDP into it. Add it. So what's going to happen is it's going to use network address translation to map that private IP address here to the public IP address of the newest VM. So that's why we don't need to actually put in the public IP address. Alright, so it's done. I just want to see what will happen. Go. So now we could actually RDP into it because we added that rule. And you see it's working. Alright, so it's working, and this doesn't work because we deleted port 80 and everything. Just want to show that. So for this video I showed two things actually. One was what happens if you don't add a network security group when you create a virtual machine when it's not attached to the NIC. It just allows all traffic by default. And then the second was what did I do? So I changed the subnet. Oh, the second was just specifically adding a rule to not for IP address and putting in the private IP of the VM that we want to RDP in. And you could do the same thing if you want to do for port 80. If you only want it on one virtual machine, then you could put that virtual machine's private IP and do port 80. So then that will act as a web server if you don't want to keep the source open for any. I mean, the destination for any.